An exhibition running till the end of October shines a light on how philanthropy evolved in Singapore over the years. For Love Shines An Ode to 200 Years explores the culture of giving from the colonial era to the current scene with online charity drives.
Yes, and to chat more on this, we have two guests who are joining us in studio that have been involved with the research in the exhibition. Dr. Ling and Ms. Lin are from the NUS Asia Centre for Social Entrepreneurship and Philanthropy, also known as NUS ASAP. Thank you both for coming in. Lin, I'll come to you first. We've been a lot this year with the bicentennial celebrations, looking at 200 years and beyond, has been covered with regards to Singapore's history. Why focus on philanthropy?
Well, the study of philanthropy is actually the brainchild of our chairman, Mr. Keith Chua, who actually started it in 2014 when Singapore was going to turn 50. And he asked us if we could attempt to chronicle the history of philanthropy in Singapore, because it had never been done. So we did do that and started with nationhood and found that really there is very little data on giving. So going backwards, we've actually looked at the role of women, grassroots giving. And this year, I looked at the first century of giving in Singapore from the time of its founding, 1819 to 1919.
So you had a chance to look at some of the ways that, particularly in the colonial era, how giving sort of was done. What did you discover in terms of philanthropy back in those days?
Well, we were surprised, actually. We found that it was actually a very vibrant and formative time for philanthropy. The first thing we discovered was that we had giving start as early as 1820. That's first documented giving. And there were lots of givers, at least 66 of them. And the profile of givers was multi-ethnic from that time as it is to now. And the second thing we discovered was that philanthropists, as they are now, will give to what they believe in personally, whatever's valuable to them. And what our pioneer philanthropists gave to was actually towards the building of places of worship, which is not what you think of today. But what you'd do then was get off a boat and go straight to your place of worship to give thanks that you'd arrived safely. And then you'd meet people of your ethnicity and religion and language. And from there, we could say that Singapore society had its foundation. And the second generation actually gave differently. They expanded on what their parents had done. This generation was born in Singapore, and so they now began to give towards schools and social reform, particularly the reform of traditional society's attitudes towards women. So we have the founding of the first girls' schools. We have money given towards the first the building of the university, the medical college, and they were very much against opium and the slavery of women. They wanted to move Singapore towards a civil society.
Right. A lot of philanthropy seems to come from a place of wanting things to be better, and that's the motivation. Has the motivation changed that you've seen through this study?
I think similar to the philanthropies in the past, grassroots philanthropies nowadays still driven by what they see is valuable and also necessary at the time for the society. But because of now, the platform and the channel of giving has diversified, and there are multiple ways that people could give to different causes, and also at home and abroad. So when I look at the grassroots philanthropists in the millennium, I find that they actually emphasize they want to achieve social impact in their giving. So not only think about giving, but actually what's the consequence of their giving, whether they actually engender that social impact. And similar in the past, they are also motivated by, they want to pay it forward, and they really value the emotional bond, and they value forge with their beneficiary or in their giving. But at the same time, they need to be very entrepreneurial, because we're talking about, when we think about philanthropy nowadays, they need to institutionalize in order to be more sustainable. So, which just simply means either they need to register the organization in a legal form, or maybe they need to set a certain code of conduct. So in that way, need to be very entrepreneurial, risk-taking. And last, what I found really interesting of all the grassroots philanthropies today is that they are really conscious and highly aware of their privilege of being Singaporean. And that's why they want to extend that in their experiences and why they engage in grassroots philanthropy.
So, Lin, tell us something about the location for this exhibition. It in itself is attached somehow with the history of philanthropy, we understand.
In a sense, yes. The Temasek Shop House is a social impact hub, and we have partnered, ASEP has partnered with the Temasek Trust before on different workshops. And so when they opened this, this very new shop house, we thought it was an ideal location to showcase the history of philanthropy and the very rich culture we actually do have about giving in Singapore.
And philanthropy is different from charity. How does it, or how do you see it going forward? Are we going to be seeing sort of more generosity when it comes to philanthropists? We know that the rich are getting richer, so in that regard, I suppose there are perhaps more resources available in terms of philanthropy.
Yes, because there are multiple channels, but I think if we want to actually learn more about both the history and what it is, like, we welcome everyone to visit the Temasek Shop House for this exhibition, but also there's this philanthropy microsite at the ASEP website if people want to explore multiple ways or different ways of giving.
Okay, and there's always ways that you can give and get involved. Thank you both for coming in and speaking to us about it. Today we've been speaking with Dr. Ling and Ms. Lin from the NUS Asia Centre for Social Entrepreneurship and Philanthropy.